this. Oh my God. No.
Hi everybody, we are now live. And this is not, and I'm not warning the audience, I'm warning everybody else.
Right, she's letting us know because it goes down when it's not live.
But it is Thursday, which means it is Trekker's Delight time, and we are going to be covering the last flight of the Protostar parts 1 and 2. Thank you, Jason. 1 and 2. I have no idea what number those are, but that's what we're going to be doing. And stick around because now we need that beautiful beam footage. Woo-wee!
Every other vote.
And you gotta admit, the dude that was coming down the aisle, he was kind of cute. I'd have carried him on my shoulder.
Here we are. Welcome once again to Trekker's Delight.
Like literally, my mic falls down just as we go live. Hi, everybody.
Who you gonna be?
The captain of the Enterprise Z.
Love that baseball and the teacup, like clearly TNG DS9 fans. So.
Man, that we see power rates at some point in this season.
What is going on?
Power got shit to do with the power rates.
No, everybody, this is actually one of the main screenwriters for Prodigy, so we are super excited to hear from you. And
No
also,
lesson.
I'm a little embarrassed for being as critical.
Man, I really love that intro.
This was a nice touch.
Yay.
I live for Keith's disapproval face every beginning.
Every time. And he's so good at it, man. Like there's so much shade under the hat. Like I mean, it's just epic. It is just.
Well, I
epic.
do have 2 daughters, so you know a lot of practice.
Hey, so I want to show. I don't know if you can see this. My oh, you can't see this.
We cannot see that. You're gonna have to describe it.
You have to describe it. It looks.
Oh,
like
it's a J. Like
a
it's
J.
Mikey.
I'm gonna have to take off my background because it's stupid.
Oh wait, are
Never
these your
mind.
groomsmen cups?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Oh crap! That was literally a tarantula on my window. Awesome.
If you don't stop talking about these goddamn spiders.
Yeah. I mean, y'all
We're
who were paying attention from home missed it because Manny was like, "Where do you live?" And I'm like, "Hell, I live in hell." Like that's what it is.
You know what? You can't even see it. You can't see
You
it.
just barely see it on that one side. Yeah.
Oh,
there
man,
it is. There's the delta. There it is.
Yeah, I couldn't have put the drink in it.
It's all right, my friends. Who wants to fall on the sword and talk about Dick Chakotay?
Well,
Chakotay.
we
I
only
miss a
have
lot.
We only have so much time with Manny, so let's just do.
Well,
that's valid. That's valid because
I will try.
Manny has important Manny things to do.
Come on.
So I have the photo. I have the photo ready. So here it is.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, look at that. The Protostar.
Snap.
Also, just mad shout out actually to the visual designers and directors for Prodigy because this is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Protostar is awfully an offshoot of Voyager, though, right?
I mean, clearly.
I mean, essentially, yeah.
Yeah, because it's literally supposed to be a visual callback to Voyager.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Prodigy, I mean, Protostar looks more like Voyager than Voyager A does.
Kind of. Just the front part.
Yeah, just the front part. Anyway.
But all right, again, Manny has important Manny things to do. So Jason has some questions.
All right, ask the question, Jason. Ask the question.
Oh, my question was about the density, them being able to float a spaceship on these clouds, and the density of the gas in these clouds. And if the clouds are that dense enough to float a spaceship, then the air
Yeah.
above them has to also be extremely dense, and the gravity of the whole entire planet has to be way more than these people are dealing with.
Okay.
Interesting.
That was what my
I just need to point out that can you really trust that they have the same physical elements, like elements
Agreed.
of nature that
Yes.
we experience on Earth?
No, you can't
In
trust
fact,
it.
we
That's
cannot. Like, that's
the whole
literally the
idea.
point, yeah.
The whole idea of physics is that it's universal throughout the entire universe. So if you have something, you have to have something that makes that something that obeys the laws of physics.
I'm
Right.
gonna have to drink more for that to make sense.
So if you have a dense
What?
gas, you have to have a reason for that dense gas. Like you have to have a certain amount of
Sometimes
gravity.
that's the beer and bratwurst that you had the night before.
Also Taco Bell.
All right, Manny.
That looks
All right,
like
Manny.
one.
You have a whole bunch of liberal arts majors who are calling because we are just completely unqualified.
That's okay. That's all right.
Come on, Manny. That shit.
That looks like
I'm listening.
Right bikini breast patch right there. That's the
Excuse me, I'm gonna.
So okay, you asked me to talk about these this idea of a density layer, something that on a planet, for instance, if you had enough of a density of particles, or whatever those particles are made up of, whatever element they're made up of, and let's say, of course, and assume they're part of the periodic table that we're used to, and they could be anything, right? Because there's different layers, especially in a gas giant. So I don't know if this has a rocky core of this planet or not, but regardless, you don't need one necessarily, because we've seen starships go into different thermal layers and gas giants all the time. We've had whole episodes of that. Remember that in Enterprise when they went into it and had different density and thermal layers and shock waves and gravity.
I tried very
can
hard not
happen.
to remember anything about Enterprise.
Oh, come on. I'm rewatching it. It's so good.
It's really good.
So good. So
I love you,
anyway,
Manny. Please don't change that.
Fair enough. Marie.
Enterprise is really good.
It has been a long road.
Yeah.
Yes, Josh. Yes.
Getting from there to here. Okay.
So the simple version, you mentioned Boyle's law, is that P1 V1 equals P2 V2, which is the pressure and the volume of the first substance or thing has an inverse proportional relationship to the second pressure and volume. So the things that you were mentioning before, whether it's gravity, whether it's temperature, whether it's the nature of the particles themselves, affect the pressure. And it's the pressure gradient that we're discussing. It is very possible, just like in that episode of Doctor Who, where the fish were like flying in the air, because of the nature of how the particle's density is in a gradient with the other particles in that atmosphere, whether it's above it or below it, and it would have to have a squeezing effect over a certain volume, would be affected by another pressure and density of another layer of pressure and volume. So it is, yes, technically possible, but I say it's probable. It's difficult. The shearing forces of something with that much pressure that would be able to allow it to have that viscosity to be lifted would crush it, unless you had some repulsive power like a starship has. So there had to be power in the ship to have a repulsive action as well. Do you understand what I'm saying?
They did have to have power. No, they had to have momentum in the ship. So that's what the sail was for.
And something that wouldn't. This is a massive thing. The starship, the metals involved, and it's also not just it's a big thing.
No,
so in order for
it's all taken care of.
The thing is,
it's
I don't
all
even
taken
know
care of. They have transparent aluminum.
Right. Wait, I think so do we at this point, actually.
Yeah, we do now. Yeah,
we do. But also, Manny has a point.
I'm just saying that, like, I don't even think that starships can do that in water as we know it at this point, right?
A submarine, man.
No, I'm talking about Starfleet starships.
Wasn't Voyager rated with like the blue alert so it could land on planets?
Yeah, it can land
planets, but not water.
Yes.
It also could go in water.
We know the Abrams, we know the Abrams Enterprise was also able to be submerged for limited amounts of time.
Yep.
Yes.
Submerged, but not buoyancy. I'm talking buoyancy.
Well, hold on. In Voyager, didn't Tom Paris go through go high hell silver through a water planet? Like
That's right.
Yes, he did.
That's what gets him demoted. In fact,
That's right. 30 days. It's called 30 days. That
30 days. 30 days.
And he's looking at Janeway like, I have no regrets. Which fair play to him. Fair play to him.
He got thrown into the brig.
He did. But again, like that man has the no regrets tattoo somewhere on his body.
Yeah. I mean, if a guy gets with B'Elanna Torres, it's gonna be a bad boy. Come on.
Right. Right.
So I mean,
she cannot handle a Harry Kim. Like
if I wasn't just waking up, I honestly would take you to my webpage. I have a whole page on the math for this. Like I do, it's on my website. I used to teach this.
This is this is legitimately sexy, Manny. I'm not gonna lie. What is it? Tilly screams, "Fuck! I love math!" Like. Oh
man.
Hey man,
if you want next episode, I will honestly create you a presentation for this. If you like, I don't mind. This is pneumatics and hydraulics. That's what it is. Charles von Wesley.
This here is Techno Trek.
This is full on why we had to outsource this because none of us could figure it out.
Well, so with the ship simply being airtight, with like a normal PSI, give it buoyancy.
Yes, buoyancy is a factor here, but it's part of the pressure and the volume. So again, what is the volume that it takes up, and what are the particles around it? If the gradient is enough, okay, with the gravitational forces, there will be buoyancy. We have to calculate every force in this space. So the density may as well also be helping with the buoyancy effect. I have this and it's frustrating because I can teach it right now. I have the buoyancy. I teach this in grade 8 science. So regardless, yes, the buoyancy has a lift effect.
I was gonna say
but I'm not a teacher anymore, man.
You might be teaching.
I am the principal.
I am the man in power. Leave me.
I am the power man.
Manny, you need to watch these 2 episodes now and do a Techno Trek episode about this.
Honestly, okay.
I second this.
Let's absolutely do it. And then
the entire second episode
for an exam to us to see how much the liberal arts majors like actually internalized and understood.
The entire second episode is about this.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like I said, episode 1 is about Sad Chakotay, and episode 2 is about like Chakotay working through his depression by basically shoving the Protostar onto this vapor ocean.
This Chakotay heavy.
But also, both of them are kind of about Dal having a power struggle with Chakotay at the same time, while not believing he's ever going to be captain.
I don't think it's a power struggle, dude.
You just kind of yeeted the Protostar out there.
Oh yeah, and in fact, that's literally what he says. He's like, Adric had a plan, and before it could fly, he knew it had to sail.
Right.
And we're all just like, what? What madness is this?
I've had to accept that they were not talking to Chakotay. They were talking to Robert Beltran because I was like, that is not Chakotay.
So far, we have Robert Beltran and we have Will Wheaton instead of
I'm
Wesley
serious
Crusher and,
because I'm looking at these characters objectively, and I'm like, I understand the passage of time. I get that, but these are the actors' characters, is what I'm seeing. Like,
all right,
but you can never get. You can never get
dial us back.
10 years.
I'm going to dial us back.
Dial us back.
We are 14 minutes or so into this. Could we maybe talk about what the actual episodes are about?
Oh,
well. First of all, Josh was coming on today to talk about something in particular, not specifically the episodes, right, Josh?
Well, that's okay. I'm happy to stick around for the conversation. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll fall on the sword then, at least for part 1. So we have Castaway starring Robert Beltran. Only last 5 minutes.
And Janeway is Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We see a montage of him surviving on this deserted
pink desert.
I'm really surprised Janeway had clothes on when they showed up.
It is a kids show, so
You know what? You know
10
what?
years, and all you have is a hologram.
I have not done this in a minute.
Thank you. I was literally looking for what I needed to click on to put him in like bad behavior jail.
All right,
Bro,
Jason
this is a
now in
kid
the break.
show.
I'm being real, and what I'm just saying.
You could join Tom
All
Paris.
he has is a hologram.
You have been demoted.
She would no longer be wearing clothes.
But in his defense, he is both old and depressed. That does things to your libido.
I am old and depressed.
We're talking about Chakotay, but if you want to fit the shoe,
okay. Keith, save us from ourselves.
Last week.
So we see his this montage of his daily life, pulling fish out of the clouds, pulling eels out and harvesting their eggs and putting them on the fruit that he shakes from the tree. Having his fire and basically being alone. And then suddenly there's a noise, and he apparently had some sort of trap set up in case there were visitors, and he traps our Protostar crew as they've been sent by Wesley Crusher through some timey-wimey portal. And of course, and we find out, Marco, there's only so much time.
Dude, Marco, you're also behind the curve. We have already discussed that.
Yeah, that was last week.
Marco, get on this show. Come on. All
right. So the Protostar crew shows up, and Chuck, even though it's been 10 years since he got away from the Vonnegut, he recognizes them immediately.
And somewhere he gets a hat. He gets a Clint Eastwood hat. Like, what?
And of course, they are, happy they get to see the Protostar again. And hologram Janeway, except it's not their hologram Janeway because, timey-wimey, all that. Dow and Chakotay fight over who actually has the ship. And then, of course, trying to explain temporal mechanics and everything. And Chakotay is pretty much old man in the sea, does not want anything to do with them, wants to just sit there and die, let the ship die because he doesn't want the Vonnegut's weapon to destroy Starfleet, even though, it already sort of did a little bit.
He feels like he's charged with protecting the ship. That's his job.
Yeah. So it was only he and Adric that survived from the ship getting there, and they got rid of all the fuel for the engines. They got rid of the Protostar core, so you can't even use the quantum slipstream drive on the Protocore. So there's no way of powering the ship to get it off, and Chakotay is perfectly fine with that. So then the crew tries to start to get along with him, like helping him shake. Rock is able to shake the fruit down from a tree, and Jankum is fixing the rover that has been broken down for years, and everyone's generally getting in Chakotay's way, and he's not happy about it. But then Dow goes missing after touching some sparkly cacti. And
there's a metaphor there.
Yes. And so they set off to try to find them, and suddenly Chakotay seems to be getting new life again and is liking being around these people as they head off to find Dow. And when they finally track him down, they find the corpse of Adric. And he had set up this sort of thing that allowed him to somehow constitute antimatter from the ion storms that continually strike on this little island. And so now they have enough antimatter that could possibly power the engine and get away from there if, they weren't beached on this island.
First, they got to sail.
Right.
So that's where part one ends us.
And that is part two, because part two is what actually takes us where basically somehow Chakotay just knows all these nautical terms. Never bothers to explain it to anybody, by the way. But he just knows this. And the idea is that they've got to sail the Protostar on this vapor ocean in order to get to the center where there's a maelstrom. But there happens to be a big deposit of deuterium gas, which they need in order to jumpstart the matter-antimatter reaction that will give them warp speed and impulse. So basically, that's what they do, is they legitimately set up they turn the Protostar into a sailing vessel, and Chakotay interestingly refers to it as the HMS Protostar. I'd like to know which H we're talking about, but we're going to set that aside for a second.
Yeah.
And basically they cast off and they sail. There are some issues. Mostly Dal struggles actually with the jib, and Chakotay has to come and talk to him and be like, "Are you feeling okay?" And Dal's like, "I saw my future," and Chakotay's like, "So." Like,
why don't you go coil some rope?
Right. I mean, just because you've seen what you think your future is doesn't mean that's the totality of your future. You've got to find where you're needed most. And right now, that's coiling rope, because clearly you can do nothing else. They basically get to the deposit, and it turns out the vapor sea is rougher than they anticipate, and there's some debris that gets lodged on the rudder that freezes the rudder, so they're not actually able to direct themselves into the deuterium deposit. So they've all got to go topside and move it, and then Chakotay, bless him, gets knocked overboard, and for reasons that escape all understanding, Dal jumps in after him to rescue him, and then the great vapor space eels rescue them. And we collect enough deuterium gas, we're able to kickstart the matter-antimatter. Yes, it would.
Deuterium.
Yes, it would. I've never actually thought about preparation of Bussard Collector, but here we are. We are blazing new paths on Trekker's Delight, ladies and gentlemen. And so anyway, they kickstart their matter-antimatter reaction. They get their warp core online, and they are able to take to the stars. And that is roughly where part 2 ends.
Did they mention ram scoops?
Yep,
they did not.
No, they did.
Did they? I don't remember the ram
scoop. Yeah, they used the ram scoop to gather the deuterium.
No, I thought that was the Bussard Collector.
Oh, it was a ram scoop built into the Bussard Collector.
Oh, excuse me. I just remember that Janeway had to power down, so they had enough energy to power the Bussard Collectors. And if we had said Bussard Collectors one more time, I was going to throw things at my television.
Now I want to watch Insurrection.
No.
And thank you. And that right there. Thank you for revealing my trauma to the world, William. Thank you.
That's what could have been worse. He could have said the other one. But.
Well, Marie, there's a lot of nautical terms built into Star Trek already.
I mean, I'm aware. Like we have the bosun's whistle, we have various things, but
where in
things like jib don't really apply to a warp faring to a space warp powered vessel.
Jib, yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, when did Chakotay sell a ship?
You don't know what he was doing. He was.
Well, no.
I mean, apparently he did a lot of reading on Starfleet's Wikipedia.
Yeah, you can.
He could have
read anything.
What is it, Ysidra? He was stuck there for 10 years, and Keith was kind of meh on that, but that's a pretty major reveal, because it's a major aspect of it, right? He had been on that planet for a decade, alone, with the exception of Hologram Janeway. And no, Jason, we are not going to make any speculation about what he was doing there.
I know what he was doing.
Don't you dare.
So I definitely had some issues with this episode. We have a lot of questions. Some of the questions required Manny. So thank you, Manny, for being here to answer the scientific.
Right. I'm very proud of the fact that I was like Boyle's Law. I remember that from chemistry.
But when they first get on the ship, after Chakotay's ready to shut all these kids out in the middle of an ion storm, as if they have anywhere else to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally he relents and lets them on. And Janeway says, "Come on board. We have plenty of food." Wait, you have plenty of food. Yet we saw in that whole montage Chakotay, harvesting the eggs and the fish and the fruit over and over again.
I mean, he could have been eating.
So my argument there is I think that was something to do.
Yeah,
could have been something.
I think that was something to do, because there's only so much entertainment value that can be had from scraping off the solar collectors, which was the only other activity that we see.
Well, maybe her plenty of food was the stuff that he was catching, and not replicated tacos.
Yeah. I do have to laugh that Murph pulled in way more fish than Chakotay had, and he just said, "Put him down."
Right.
Hey, put it down now.
I think
you don't want to overfish. You don't want to overfish.
Okay, so let's talk about Chakotay as a character for a second, because like one of the real problems with Chakotay's character is that he's very much an example of the magical Indian trope, right?
Yeah.
And even in later episodes in this season, we're going to see a little bit of that magical Indian like coming out. And it's just like, woo, okay, pull that back, writers. But I think there's very much like this idea that, you know, he's like naturally more in tune with nature, blah, 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 blah. And he doesn't want, and he just doesn't want to take more than he necessarily needs. Is what I think that was supposed to be. Also, because it was funny. Because Murph.
I mean, it's Murph.
I do have to say I was kind of put off by how he was dismissive of Murph. Like when they went to take Murph with them, it's like, what's the blue guy? What do you say? The goo guy for? And
they're like security.
And then
I'm surprised he didn't. Yeah.
And then when he does actually save them, you know, pull them back because the seatbelt broke. I get it now. Security. That was.
But let's look at the throwbacks we got. So we have Kate Mulgrew, we have Janeway, we've got the Doctor, we've got Wesley, we've got Chakotay, we've got Admiral. Everybody hates his ass.
Jellicoe. We also have a Beverly Crusher.
Beverly Crusher came in on this episode. Yeah, we didn't mention that.
Yep.
So,
which was really weird. Does anybody else find that weird? Because I found that weird.
That was weird. That was a bit weird.
Right? Like, because, you know, everybody's favorite Tellurian.
Well, because I think
Doctor is just like, I got you an appointment with his mom.
I think because was Janeway trying to get like insight into the thought process of Wesley?
Mm-hmm. Right, which no.
Yeah, basically, Janeway suddenly ran to Wesley, so his first thought is, I gotta call his mom.
Well, that's actually
find out who he is.
Where credit is due. Credit where credit is due. That is not Janeway's first impulse. That is, in fact, the Tellurite's impulse.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like Janeway is just kind of. There's very much a kind of like, I don't know why I'm talking to you vibe to that entire conversation, and I really think that's Kate Mulgrew's acting there. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna say
okay.
It would have made more sense for her to talk to actual Picard than it would.
I mean, like, I don't know what Picard would know.
I mean, that's his commanding officer.
But here's the deal. Like, nobody has seen Wesley for years. Like, Wesley's been off the grid for, since the events of that film that we do not name.
So you got to start. So you got to start somewhere.
And at this point, Picard is in the middle of the Romulan evacuation before he turns in his resignation.
That's what I was. That's what I was wondering.
Right, but but Crusher herself is steadily moving off the grid for this.
That's right. She's about to run away.
You'll note that she's not in a uniform.
Yeah, and she you didn't hear any crying in the background, but there's probably a baby, Jack, not too far away.
No. He'd be grown by now. He'd be grown by now, right?
No.
It hasn't been 20. It hasn't been 20 years yet. This is before she went off the grid.
Oh, yeah, but she is headed in that direction. It's very obvious that like this is meant to be a tie-in to Picard.
Yeah, but this is Jack is still quite young at this time.
I think the timelines are sort of different.
Which it's kind of a struggle for me. I have to be honest, because like why does Prodigy have to tie into Picard? Like why? Like we can have these
Star Trek lore.
Like we can have these great, these really phenomenal like callbacks, right? Where we mention that, you know, the Cerritos, we mentioned that Picard's doing blah, blah, blah. But like, we don't have to tie them in because like the Star Trek universe is immense. And unlike another Star franchise that I won't mention, not everything has to come back to the same central locations and the same central families, right? Like that's one of the things that's great about what we're doing with, or, you know, like what we could have been doing with Star Trek until we get like these characters that are legitimately tied to these dynasty characters.
I think people like the fact that there are these own separate stories, but that they do tie in to other separate stories, and then it's all It's a reminder that it's all one universe and everything is happening together, regardless.
I mean, everything is happening together. But like, I do not personally know Joe Biden, right? Like, you can tell a story about my life with it, where we mention what's going on in the greater socio-political arena, but like, we don't have to like tie into that specifically.
I mean, like, so I kind of brought it up about 2 weeks ago that I felt like that the last half of this season was just tying it into season 1 of Picard. Like, that's what it really felt like. Now, given what I know, what happens, which I'm not going to say, because I don't know how much everyone has watched the show. Okay, cool. Then nothing.
I'm only up to the end of part 2. I'm
without any spoilers. I kind of understand. Because at first, as I was watching it, I was like, why are y'all, as much as I love seeing Crusher and, the beginning and seeing that she's clearly about to go off with Jack, all this other stuff. What is Starfleet doing while everything's going down with before the events of Mars and Picard? Woo, all that stuff. But I didn't really understand it until the final episode, which I won't say what happens. So there is something which I look forward to discussing.
Okay, that'll be a few weeks from now. Just sit on that.
We got time. We have
plenty of time.
So, all right. We've talked a little bit about like Castaway Chakotay, and we've talked a little bit about pretty much that's it, actually. So why don't we talk about a little bit about what the kids are doing here? Because Gwen comes up with the idea that in addition to fixing the ship, they've got to fix the captain, and they do, right? Like, because Chakotay is not okay. I mean, bro clearly hasn't gotten a new shirt in 10 years.
10 years. That's a long time to be.
He low-key reminded me of Ransom a little bit, but like on the opposite end.
Okay,
if that makes
fair.
sense. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. No, I do.
Yeah. And he obviously has a pair of scissors handy because he's been keeping that beard and hair very well maintained.
Where's that cowboy? Where is
he's got a phaser, right?
I would not ever want to use a phaser for, grooming.
Low setting.
That just sounds like a terrible idea.
Low setting.
So Chakotay is very clearly dealing with, just the emotional fallout from being abandoned or like marooned for 10 years. And also dealing with having to feel his feelings about losing his crew.
Poor guy.
And I think there's an interesting conversation to be had here about the fact that the children are the ones that are like, okay, we got to pull him out of this. We've got to come up with a way to make this work.
Well, he loses 7 years in the Delta Quadrant, right? Away from home. And then he loses another 17 years this guy's lost away from home. So
but those 7 years in the Delta Quadrant, he found a new family beyond. I mean, he had made a new family in the Maquis, and now he found his new family on the Voyager.
Right.
So it's not that he lost. These 10 years on this island, he's by himself for a majority of that decade.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been a while since Ali. I'm blanking on the guy's name. Since he's
Adric.
Adric, thank you. Since Adric disappeared, so
yeah, like I mean, I was trying to remember how long skeletonization takes. Which again, as Manny has pointed out, is actually contingent on a number of things, including the environment in which he's in and whether or not that environment functions like Earth.
Hey, I just want to point out that
it takes a minute.
The next episode is called A Triple Called Quest, which is awesome because one of my favorite groups from the 90s is A Tribe Called Quest. So whoever came up with that.
I love it.
Oh, they had a lot of fun with episode titles this season.
They did.
And you really got to doff your hat to them because these were great. And in fact, next week's episode is written by Aaron Walke.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Who still hasn't come back.
Yeah. I'm going to tag him in everything.
He's hurting our
feelings. We wish him a happy birthday and everything.
I know.
Man, what's his TikTok? I'm finna send him a message. Man, because if it don't work, I'll just call him direct. Like, come on. Aaron Walker.
And this is who we are. All right. So so we do have a Dreek, right? Like and a Dreek is the one who gets a plan, who decides to be proactive because he doesn't become as mired in grief as Chakotay does. And he ultimately loses his life. And so Dal goes on this amazing, intense adventure involving like sandworms
Right.
and finds a Dreek. What do we think what do we so what do we think that about as a character driver for Chakotay? Like this discovery that a Dreek sacrificed his, I mean, because intellectually he must have known, but now he's stuck with the incontrovertible proof that a Dreek lost his life attempting to get off.
Well, originally, I guess that he would be proving himself right, that it was like useless to try to do so.
Was it though? Because they get off.
No, in the end it wasn't, but
the planet, I mean, not any other way.
At first, probably when the Dreek didn't come back, he was like, well, I told his ass, you know, it probably sent him more into a slump of like, oh, I'm never going to try to get off because obviously this didn't work and it's not going to work. That's why it took the kids to like, you know, motivate Chakotay into like, hey man, we gotta work on this.
So do we want to make a comment here about like, is there a metaphorical journey going on where we have the enthusiasm and the optimism of youth faced with Chakotay's grief? Like, I mean, do we think that's what's going on? Because that seems a little ham-fisted for Prodigy writers, to be fair.
Yeah.
There's no way to
still nothing, man.
There's no way to see that.
Still nothing.
I drank it all. This is like faux whiskey. It's not even real whiskey, by the way.
I feel like there was just such a quick turnaround from him being, you know, super dick Chakotay to slightly less of a dick, kind of a father figure Chakotay.
Yeah, he sort of started taking control as a captain and as a father figure.
I mean, you did say he was slightly less of a dick.
Yeah. Slightly less. I think he was better in the second episode than he was in the first episode, obviously, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
For sure. Like, Chakotay, I mean, to the point where, like, Hologram Janeway actually has to call him out and be like, bro, you just left teenagers outside unprotected in an ion storm.
Yeah, considering going back to Voyager, Chakotay's best scenes, the best lines, when they did play up sort of the not you know the faux Indian, but the more of the respectful person, like you know on the Emanations, of one where they found the planet with all the dead people, and he immediately had everyone stop using their tricorders and
I remember that
to honor the dead, like doing everything to not disturb the remains.
The thing is that when you come into a situation where you have given up all hope for something, right? You sort of deter yourself from inviting anything that represents hope. So the
Shawshank effect, yeah, like Shawshank, right? Like Brooks institutionalized.
Yeah, these kids coming in represent some type of hope, and he's sort of against that because he's settled on who he is and where he is. He's made his.
Yeah, he feels he's saving Starfleet. He's saving the galaxy by keeping the ship there, keeping the living construct there.
He's become content on being alone on this island and not waiting for.
Now it sounds like Lost.
Yeah. The show Lost?
Yeah, like the show Lost. Yeah, keep pushing the button to save the world.
Don't get me started on that show.
Well, on the island. But I hear what you're saying about the loss of hope and how it can like make you rebuff like new ideas of hope.
I mean, do we think we have a visual metaphor for that in the form of the chess and the chessboard?
Oh yeah, definite connection to Shawshank Redemption there.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And carving of the chess pieces.
Very nice uniform detail.
Yeah, he's gotten to be a much better carver as he's gone on.
Right. Also, just as a brief conversation, can we have what? I mean, a Dreek's feathers are apparently bone. What?
Yeah. So I was kind of because I saw like why did his skeletal structure look exactly the same as his head?
Right.
Yeah.
I thought those were feathers. I thought they were from the same species that got it on with
no
peanut
No,
hammer.
no,
yeah,
no,
The evil people.
No.
Bro. Where else?
Nope.
Thank you.
Nope, we're not going there. I don't need.
There
no
are
drama.
multiple bird creatures out there. Just as there are multiple hominids, there are multiple lizard people. There's multiple.
The ultimate furry is all I'm gonna say. The ultimate furry. Like, okay.
Why did you let him back?
I didn't. Bye. We are not going there. We are not going there.
I forgot this was a children's show.
I mean, Tracker's Delight clearly is not, but like...
Clearly is not.
Every time I post a video, I have to say "not for kids" in the description.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, yes,
I
there are multiple avian species, but like, I just thought that was a really odd kind of touch. I mean, as if kids needed to have the spiky bits to recognize that was a Dreek's skull. I mean, like, as if there would have been. And that really frustrated me, actually, because that's the only reason to have those bony promontories there, is to make sure that we recognize it as being a Dreek. And everywhere else, Prodigy has been really, really good about recognizing the sophistication of kids as an audience. And I don't really think children needed those.
Well, the more that you take away,
that is an awesome building.
The more that it becomes...
Not square one, the triangle one. That one. Yeah, that's awesome, Manny.
Looks like it's going to fall over any second. Don't drive over there. But the more you take away, the more horrifying the death and decomposition looks. So
he's down to the skeleton. So like we've lost.
Even the more you take away from that, the more horrifying it looks.
Really? I would think having more, bits that would be.
I don't know. I mean, I have to admit, like, I was watching it the second time, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, he's skeletonized, right? Which would mean that
skeletonized. Is that a word? That's hilarious.
It is a word. I promise.
I believe you. I'm just.
So he's skeletonized, like retrieving his body from wherever the heck it was, and putting it in that little boat to have that emotional funeral. Like, bits of him would have fallen off.
I can't wait to use that one day. I'm gonna skeletonize you, boy.
I feel like
I have so many regrets right now.
So
many regrets.
Like they use that term on that one show called Bones. I don't know if y'all know about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, like, let's be real. I'm a white woman in my 40s. I listen to the murder podcasts.
But you were saying,
yeah. When he took the combats, I figured that would be enough, and he would leave a Dreek there. But no, then they had to do the whole Viking funeral thing. Like, where'd they get the boat?
They made the boat,
right? Did you have that question too? Because I'm just like, what?
I'm trying to figure out what point.
Did we replicate a boat?
Or maybe it was a Dreek's boat.
He just made the boat out of stuff. He had stuff.
Because Chakotay,
I mean, you could have made a boat over the. I mean, he had 10 years and he had the trees. He could have made the boat. That makes sense.
You could make a boat out of metal.
But where would he have boated?
Yeah.
I mean, where would he have boated?
Considering he could just walk out into the clouds to get fish, he didn't need the boat to fish. So
exactly, like, dude did not need a boat.
It's not like he was exploring, especially since we had those, the sandworms to contend with.
Right, bro. I mean, and bro was legit like hunkering down in Prodigy for a good 10-year sulk.
Yes.
I always wondered about that in Dune. Like, what are these sandworms eating?
I mean, they're eating the eggs and stuff that Chakotay's fishing.
No. If you read the book in Dune, it goes into that.
It does? Okay.
Yes.
Y'all talking about Dune?
Yeah.
We just moved to Dune.
Jason decided to bring Dune into this.
I was wondering
because this is like a pink Arrakis.
Yeah.
I will get on the Dune let's. I just arrived at work. I'm so sorry.
This is my
I have
shocked
to.
face that you're going to get on the Dune train.
Until
face.
next time. Until next time. I
Hey,
miss you
thank
guys.
love
I love you
you.
guys. I'm sorry.
Love you,
Thank you so much,
Manny.
Manny.
Bye, Manny.
Thank you for letting us watch your commute, by the way.
That was
Yeah.
nice.
Manny.
Have a good class. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Habibi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Malaikum salam, my brother.
That was so awesome. We so infrequently get to have Manny because of the time difference. Like, I'm just
This
really
is a really
excited
good
when we
show.
get to.
It's a really
Yeah,
good
this
show.
has been
wish I knew
fantastic.
him
I
when
mean,
I
this
was
has
in
been
Dubai
fantastic.
last
Like,
year.
we're at 40. I mean, we're at 45 minutes, and I don't feel like it's 45 minutes. I'm sure everybody else watching is like, "Oh my god," but you know, that's on them.
Yeah. Well, I think we pretty well covered these 2 episodes. So Josh joined us because he wanted to talk about something.
That's true. We have lost a star in the Star Trek firmament.
That's right. James Darren died a couple of days ago, and I don't know. Some people. I'm a huge Deep Space Nine fan. That is definitely my favorite of all of the Star Trek genre. And
You're
everybody's
among
got their own
friends, dude.
Okay, all right. So, and I gotta say, Vic Fontaine really just struck a chord with me. And I don't know whether it's you see what I did there. You see what I did. You see what
I did.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Struck a chord.
Right. So no, he did though. So it was.
Hey, Pally.
It's
Hey, Pally. If you got something to say, go ahead and say it, Pally.
Right, but he's it's one of those characters that I've always been a big fan of, like the old crooners, Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra, and even of Jimmy Darren. And so when he comes on there and it's Vic Fontaine and he's just like, "Hey, Pally, come on into my casino. Let's go shoot some craps," and it's just, yes, that's freaking cool. And now you've got O'Brien and the Doctor out here just and it's, I don't know. To me, it was just all the feels, and especially that very last scene of the very last episode of Deep Space Nine, where he's singing and he dedicates a song to the whole crew, and they do a whole, kind of remember back montage. It always hits me right in the feels. I get choked up every single time. Every time.
Oh, everything about that scene was beautiful, because like even the non-crew characters, people were the actors out of makeup, and the crew that made the show.
No, there was even Stephen Bear was in that one.
Yep.
He was actually in the audience.
Jeffrey Combs was there. Mark Alamo. Yeah.
I mean, I want to
Jeffrey
say
Combs actually played 4 different characters in that scene at the same time.
Yeah.
Remember
because it's Jeffrey Combs, of course he did. I actually think what we left behind is my favorite of the Star Trek finales, because it's so great at acknowledging not just the main characters, but like everyone who made Deep Space Nine what it was. And we've talked a little bit about this before on the podcast. Joshua, you may not know, but like Deep Space Nine was kind of like the redheaded stepchild of Trek.
Yes.
And as a result, it managed to do so much with comparatively little. And I think that's
I hated
so
Deep Space Nine at first. It was like my worst Trek was Deep Space Nine.
Well,
and I have to agree. When I saw the very first episode the first time when it first came out, what was it, on UPN? I think.
Yes.
No, that wasn't.
No. Actually, no. Voyager was.
Yeah.
Voyager
was. You're right. You're right. But I remember watching the first episode and thinking it was just too far to reach. It was just like, what are you doing?
I didn't like it at all.
And then it just, and it took a season, like, because season one's rough. And season 1 is unusually rough, I would actually argue.
No, it took me years. It took me like 10 years to actually like Deep Space Nine.
I was an early adopter.
Once Ira Stephen Bear took over as showrunner in season 3, it's like immediate the changes he started making. Like,
yes,
it took a while. I mean, it wasn't a while before we got.
It stopped being Babylon 5 light, and it became its own thing. And I think that's really the issue, because Babylon 5 did Babylon 5 better. Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden we get Ira Stephen Bear, who's like, let's take a look at what we can do within the Star Trek universe and let's go with it. And that's why we have characters like Vic Fontaine. And I got to tell you, I think It's Only a Paper Moon is possibly one of the most amazing episodes produced in Star Trek.
Absolutely. Well, I was just thinking of
because can you
yeah.
I'll get to you in a second, Keith, but I want to say this. But can you imagine? Right? Can you imagine? It's an entire episode about how Nog is dealing with this incredibly esoteric issue, right? Part of his body's been he lost part of his body and then it was replaced by something else. And so he's having to deal with the emotional fallout. And Star Trek is notoriously bad about dealing with, or at least 90s Trek is notoriously bad about dealing with the emotional fallout. And yet we have this incredibly beautifully written episode where Nog is processing his feelings by saving Vic's casino.
Mm-hmm. And he went to go live with him, right?
Yeah. They could not get him out. They could not get him out of the holosuite.
Because, Starfleet regulations say that he can convalesce wherever he wants. So that's how he got around it.
Right. And it's just this amazing, and it's the amazing chemistry between Aaron Eisenberg and Jimmy Darren right there that just makes it. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen this image with a lot of on Trek book, basically, with people saying they're together now, and I'm not okay. That did not make me okay.
Oh yeah, that doesn't.
Well, yeah. What I was just gonna say, you think about that. You had 2 incredible episodes with Vic at the center. You had Nog's episode, and you had Odo's episode.
Yes.
And
yes.
And they're all gone now.
Oh God!
Oh, Renee's gone too, right?
Oh wow!
Yeah. Renee died a couple days before Aaron. Yeah,
that's awful, guys. I could have gone my whole night without thinking about it. So thanks for that.
I know this was a few years ago, but I got to admit to you guys, I have not processed it yet.
No, see, Maria, this is just a week for processing those kind of things.
Well, right? We've talked about it. It's been a rough week.
Star Trek. There's so many characters in Star Trek throughout the years that this is something that is going to.
But yeah, happen. You're right. It's just the fact that we had this character come out of nowhere, right, to become so important. That's not something you could have done on a serialized Trek. On a serialized Trek, you just couldn't have done it on The Next Generation.
Well, and also,
so I just go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that he was essentially Bashir's toy, Bashir's plaything, but he became so much more important to basically everyone but Bashir.
Right.
He didn't do much for O'Brien, I think, but he definitely. Even that the moments with Cisco in Bada Bang, Bada Bing, Bada Boom, whatever.
It's just being able to explore, even have the throwaway line where Cisco's like, I would never have been allowed, at the time, I would not have been allowed to do this, right?
This sort of mirrors life because, like I said before, I'm 50, so at 50, there's a certain amount of people that you have lost in your life, and then you come to realize that other people you're going to lose. You're going to lose your parents. I'm going to lose these people. So Star Trek's kind of the same way. It's kind of like we've seen some people that we've lost, and then it's like, oh, it's sad to know that we are going to lose some of these other great characters that we've all come to know and love throughout 40 freaking years.
See,
right? Does anybody remember? Was anybody okay when Leonard Nimoy died? Because I was not.
Not one day.
No.
Well, it's interesting to think that we had, as Marie said, Star Trek has not done well with dealing with certain issues. And even in other Treks, you had storylines that went nowhere because they just didn't have the way to get it done. But Deep Space Nine did it partially because they had Vic. Yes, Deep Space Nine finally had a counselor in season 7 in Ezri, but Nog found his solace in Vic. You would not have had in any other Trek the ability to really carry Nog's storyline through to a better ending because we had him, and Odo getting together with Kira happened because Vic was there.
Absolutely.
There are so many storylines that worked out that wouldn't have worked on any other Trek because we had Vic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I would argue that because Deep Space Nine was the redheaded stepchild of 90s Trek, like they were able to get away with that thing, right? Like, because I mean, Ira had unprecedented control because Rick Berman's attention was elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Boy,
and you know, like in fairness to Jason, right? Like Deep Space Nine, when it came out, actually got a fair amount of hate. Yeah. Right, everybody was like, "What are we gonna do with this?" Blah 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 blah.
Well, because we were looking, I guess what we were looking for was another TN. What we got in Voyager, basically,
right?
Another TNG, and that's not what it was.
Right, but like if you look back, I mean, so much of what Deep Space Nine grappled with is still pertinent and is still beautifully done.
Well, yeah, they've had better story arcs and character development.
Because that's what the show was about. It wasn't telling the story with the alien
wagon train of the stars.
Yes. Right. Like we no longer had that wagon train episode. We've talked about this before, right? Like, I mean, the characters in Deep Space Nine didn't have the option of warping away from Bajor.
Right.
Especially. Like they had to come back. They had to live with these people.
No matter how hard they tried.
Right, God knows.
And they dealt a lot with religion, which is what Star Trek pretty much stayed away from.
Right.
But the whole premise of Deep Space Nine was the fact that they're staying away from religion. At the same time, they're having to deal with it the entire time, where they're trying to stay away from it. You know, that's the Starfleet. Well, that's even Cisco himself. One person is trying to deal with.
Benjamin is Star Trek Jesus.
Yeah, he doesn't want to deal with religion.
Right. But think about it. Like one of my least favorite episodes, actually, of Strange New World season 1 is the floating city with the child running the computer.
Oh my
God, I hated that so much.
Fiery Passion was not happy. Nope.
And they were too late.
You know what made it worse? You know what made it worse was when they said, "Is he gonna feel pain?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, well,
like completely comfortable, but like the needs of the many outweighs the need of one. Like, no,
turn him into an Energizer bunny.
I'm like, what is this? They could have just said he's not going to feel any pain. It would have been made the episode so much better to me. But they said he is going to feel pain.
Right, but that episode works because we can leave the planet.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have to deal with it.
You don't have to. You don't have to deal with it. But like when Kai, like when like Vedic Wynn becomes Kai Wynn, we have to deal with that.
We're stuck with Space Karen.
Hate that woman. Anybody else hate that woman? It's like
everyone hates that woman.
Louise Fletcher did such an amazing job with her. Honest to God, I think One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was like her audition.
Yeah. Well, an Oscar-winning audition, yes.
I mean, right?
Right? Because if you act the character so well that it makes me hate the character and almost hate you, you've done your job.
Yes.
No, but
yeah,
she
I
as
put
a
her
person
right up there with Joffrey from
sure.
King of Thrones.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God.
But apparently, she's really lovely.
Acting.
Like she was really lovely. Like if you listen to
I call bullshit.
Armin,
I hate that woman.
No. If you listen to Armin Shimerman, she's really lovely. She was really lovely.
Oh yeah, even Nana.
I agree with Josh. I hate that woman.
Yeah, like that she was just completely like that. She was just a completely lovely person, and that it was just like kind of a bit of a mindfuck, actually. Like because she would turn into Space Karen, and it was just what?
Yeah. Right.
I gotta say,
Armin Shimerman and Louise Fletcher were friends. I mean, because I believe she passed away, right?
Yes, she's been gone.
She did this year.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been 2 years.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, like because she and Armin Shimerman were like tight. Yeah. Until her death, and I gotta tell y'all, like Armin Shimerman is possibly one of the nicest people I've ever met.
She slept with Ducat.
We've all made bad choices, Jason.
2 years as of the end of September 23rd.
Do you want to go down the list of everybody you've ever slept with, buddy?
Oh God, no.
This is not that kind of show.
Oh Lord, no. You know what?
Oh look, it is almost time. So next week we're going to be covering a tribble called
Quest.
Thank you.
What did you
Quest.
say? Oh.
Okay.
Honey, no, stop.
Triple
And
Quest.
then are we doing 1 episode or 2 episodes? I don't remember.
Probably
2.
We should do 2 just so that we can we're ahead one.
So we'll do that. So we'll do that and break.
And Sunday we're going to be doing a Trek That episode for Star Trek Day. This Sunday is the 58th Star Trek Day.
I'm gonna try to make that.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a Trek That episode. We're going to be talking about what brought us to Star Trek, our first memories of Star Trek, and what we hope to see in Star Trek in the future.
It kills me. I'm not going to be able to be there.
I don't have a first memory of Star Trek. It's pretty
Josh.
Well,
Josh, are you
work on something? Well,
Josh, are you gonna be there this Saturday? No. You're not. What? No, you might be, because are you gonna come back by Comic-Con this Saturday?
I am going to be at Comic-Con on Saturday, probably afternoon, and I'll definitely be there on Sunday.
Where's Comic-Con?
Here in Little Rock. Well, because again, Gates McFadden, John Delancey, and Brent Spiner are gonna be here. So
that's amazing.
And I can't wait. I'm gonna meet all 3 of them.
We're gonna stand in that line again.
Gates and Brent are fantastic, but none of them are as cool as John Delancey.
See, I feel bad that I finally got to go to AwesomeCon this year, and there wasn't a single Trek person there.
Oh,
and they just announced the first 3 guests for AwesomeCon next year. So I went to my buddy Eric at Preservation Science, and all right, we got to come up with another topic because they got Morena Baccarin, Sean Baer, and Jewel State as the first 3 guests for AwesomeCon this year. I can't not go to AwesomeCon, so let's come up with another topic.
I mean, yes. I have thoughts about Morena Baccarin, but anyway, we are going to be looking at those 2 episodes of Prodigy, continuing our coverage of Prodigy. Stay tuned for our coverage of Star Trek Day. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Let us know what you'd like to see. And I'm not even sure. No, Marco, no.
If you want to be part of the conversation, we'd love to have you. Josh, you joined us for the first time tonight. William, make sure Josh gets on the Discord so he can be.
Yes, I will definitely add him in. Absolutely.
All right. All right.
Josh,
live long and prosper, my dudes.
Tamika, Terry, Miriam.
Wait, Jason, on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you being right now? I gotta know.
I'm serious, dude. You got
like 10 out of 10 serious, or picking on Michael serious? Which one?
There is no temperature in space. It's not cold.
What are you serious?
Okay, wait.
Who is somebody? Oh dear God! It just got
because you said his name.
Welcome to the party, Michael.
No, that is not how we're going to end the episode because Keith actually has a legitimate news update. He knows shit, and we should possibly convey that knowledge.
That's my favorite line. He knows shit.
It's just like a black and red mound. It's like.
Why are you describing yourself?
What the hell?
Hello from
Hey, Virgil.
Hey,
Virgil.
Welcome.
Hello, Virgil. Welcome. Who are you?
Who?